Hard, I guess. But at the same time, it's like all I know.
Hard.
But I guess it's just having to work twice as hard constantly.
I think it's it's hard. It's very, very difficult. But I was just thinking, ironically enough, I was driving the other day and I was like, sometimes you think about changing your life, like, oh, I wish I had this, or I wish I was this person. I was like, regardless of how difficult and hard it is being a black woman, today's society, years ago, I would never ever want to be someone different, if that makes sense. I think the difficulty that I have in navigating this world has made me this person that I am, so.
It's a little difficult because we get stereotyped. People think that we all are the same way, that we're loud and boisterous, but that's not true. We're all individual people, and we all have different characteristics, and we all are different individuals. So that's how the world should look at us, as being different people, and not loop us all in the same group as being loud and being afraid of us. And that's what most of us get. And most of my friends that I speak to and talk to, we all feel the same way. We all get the same thing.
Well, I guess it depends on who's looking at me. I think, like, if you're just looking at the facts or the statistics, you're winning. That's the truth. We're more educated than anyone else in this country. We're doing well by our families. We're living longer than anyone else in this country. But that's not like what the media tries to portray. So the story they put out there is different. But the facts are we're doing quite well in this country, and that's how I define myself and see myself.
Well, it was kind of rough growing up because I was raised up in the South. And we had to do a little lot of picking cotton, tobacco to make a living. My father died when I was like 6 years old. It was kind of rough. My mother had like 8 children. And the public system was out there, the welfare, but they only give her like $80 a month to feed 8 children. So it was kind of rough. Now, we didn't starve for nothing now because my mother worked herself to the bone trying to provide for her children. And, she had to go out and, work with, Dr. Smith, as keeping their children to provide for her children.
I think I have that challenge where it's like, I constantly apologize. Like when I start getting loud, I apologize. Like when I get excited, I apologize. And I even do it with like other black kids because it's just like an instinct. And I don't know if it's like not a challenge, but it's kind of like something that I face, I guess. I feel like teachers doubt me constantly. Like I feel like they doubt what I can do. Because like I take like some of the classes I take, teachers almost look at me like, oh, you're in this class. So it's like I almost have to like prove myself constantly that like I'm worth where I am.
I think the challenges I faced were like people's perceptions about who I was supposed to be or how I was supposed to act or how they defined me or my culture or my history versus how I saw myself or who my family told me I was and how they defined me. There was always a challenge there. And then that continued on, professionally. So I was always, fighting against other people's stereotypes versus what I knew or who I knew myself to be.
It's so funny. We talk about this in class about the intersectionality of being an African American person and being a woman. So I think some of the obstacles I face or issues have been being undermined, right? Being undermined, and also kind of like having to prove your worth at the table, if that makes any sense. People around me like to convince me that I don't belong where I am, or I'm only there because of a certain reason, not because of anything else. So I think that's one of the main issues, constantly trying to prove your worth.
The only thing I can remember is being in high school. I grew up in the South, and I went to school in the 80s. I graduated in 1987, and we still had segregated proms even then. So that's the only one thing that I can recall that I felt that was that was wrong, that we should not have had segregated proms. I see my daughter going through things or difficulties more than my sons. She's been called she's heard the N-word, and people will say those things and they're insensitive to her feelings or how she feels. And as far as my sons, they don't get that as much as she does.
Well, growing up, it was kind of rough because like we had to go to school, we had to walk to school, miles, long ways. And then like a lot of times we like walking home, going to school, and if white people come along, we have to jump in the ditch because if not, they will try to run over us. It was kind of rough. And then when you go to the restaurants and stuff like that, we couldn't go to the same side there was. We had to go to the back and purchase our food. And they have a water fountain it says white only, and water fountain for the black only. So we only had to drink from different water fountains. It was different. It was rough.
Be yourself, because it's like when you're not yourself is when the issues start happening. And like, don't apologize for who you are, because it's like you don't have enough time for that in the world.
Well, I think the old adage, if you don't believe in something, you'll fall for anything, is it's so true. And if you don't have like some type of solid grounding about who you are as in terms of religion, but who you are in terms of our culture and our history, you will be heavily influenced by all those negative things that people are trying to tell us. So finding something that you believe in, just as a foundation, but also like figuring out what your passion is and like going after that and pursuing that and not letting all the other things distract you from your true purpose. My generation and every generation before us, we've been so conditioned to worry about taking care of everyone around us. I think the important thing for future generations to do is to learn how to invest in themselves and to take care of themselves before you even think about having children and having a husband and taking care of all of those other people. Learning how to care for yourself and to take care of yourself adequately is going to be the most important thing to you, like thriving.
Can I first? Sure. Fuck it. Like, it's gonna be hard. But just kind of, I remember a couple of years ago I told myself that I was on a journey of being an unapologetic black woman, and I wish I had gotten on that journey at a younger age. So I apologize for cursing, but it's kind of just like that. You have to just kind of say, you know what, this is who I am. I'm gonna embrace who I am. I tell a lot of students who live in Oregon, I tell a lot of black students who live in Oregon that the world is so much bigger. When you go out and go away to school, you're not going to be the only black woman in your classroom. So it's kind of like knowing who you are to prepare yourself for going out in the world.
The advice that I would give is just be strong and know that you could possibly face some challenges, that it could happen. I mean, I haven't really faced anything, but I know people who have. Friends of mine at work have just gone through just hard times for being a black female. I mean, they have heard the word, for instance, monkey from other races that was said to them, that hurtful things. The advice that I would give to a young African American woman is, like I said, to be strong and to just to know that in society you're gonna hear things, and to fight your battles and not to always just get upset for everything, and just know that you will hear those things, but just try to be strong and just move past those things.
I would tell them, try to be positive and always put God first, and make sure, if things is not right, speak up. You can speak up. You can give them your opinion. You have to, know how to present yourself to talk to the individual. That's my advice.
I guess I'm in BSU in student government, so when something happens, I try my best to, call out the people that did it, like call out like when people mess up, I try my best to like educate them before I get mad, because sometimes people are just ignorant. So first I educate, and then if they don't get it after that, it's just like, that's when I get mad. So
well, I mean, like that's the biggest thing for like my passion. So my passion is or how I've like funneled my passion is through housing. And so I've chosen to, focus my education on that, focus my career on that, and with the thinking that if I can really invest and make change in this part of the world, in my little corner of the world, through housing, through providing stable housing, really for families with children is like my passion, then they're going to be able to do more for the next generation. So that's how I feel like I affect societal change in a very linear way. But there are other ways that I go out of my way to affect change, and that is like showing up every day as a Black woman, being educated, trying my very best to be positive, to have a good attitude, to be smart, to not be angry, or even when I feel angry, and to do what I call infiltrating the system, and that is going into these systems that have typically been dominated by men, white men and men of color, but have been dominated by men, and showing up and showing out in those places and showing them that, I have these great ideas and I'm gonna affect change in that way. And so infiltrating those systems and then making the changes that we really want to see in those systems.
It's so funny. I've been thinking about this question also as I'm starting a doctoral program at Lewis and Clark. I think sometimes we think we can create change by completely throwing the system upside down. But I feel like you gotta everything, there's different systems in everything. So in education, there are maybe 500 different systems, and I think I want to take one system, know the system, and then try to break up that system. And I feel like just my presence. I'm not sure. I think it's 3%, but 3% of the teachers in the state of Oregon are African American women, or African American people. In the whole state of Oregon. And I think I'm being very, very generous. So my presence is about being here, being part of this whole system, and trying to break it up.
My suggestion is to make change is to educate, is to talk about it, to let someone know that saying these things, that it does not make me feel good. People will say, well, you weren't a slave. Why do you get upset when you hear those things? But it still affects me. I am an African American woman. So when I do hear it, it does make me upset. It does affect me as being an African American woman. So what I would say is just to educate people and let them know that I do have feelings, and that's something I don't want to hear. Or just let people know that, I am an individual. I am a human being. And, just saying things, it does hurt me. So, I don't know, just educate and talk.
I mean, yeah, you try to help the needy, the people that, need help, try to, provide for them and do what you can for them, I don't mean for you to go broke or nothing like that, trying to help anybody.
I think you need to go to school, which you're doing, right? I don't believe every student should aspire to be the next Sean King, right? But you going to school, getting out of Oregon, yes, check. Going to school, staying in school, getting an education, and just kind of being this model of excellence that you are. I'm not expecting your quiet self to be, but just be who you are, how you carry yourself, the respect that you have for yourself. That's going to create change, because you are going to show others wow, this narrative that I've had about African American people, African American women is not true.
I think when you say stuff, it comes out a lot nicer than when me or Ms. Lamar says stuff. So I think that's one thing that you do that just since you're so kind, things come off different than when you do it. So
you're part of another generation that's gonna have more doors open than the last one. So, and then in the same way, when you have children, your children will be a part of another generation that more doors will be open for them. So sky's the limit.
I'm gonna get an Oscar.